And it even looks more rough and rugged since I was here last, you know. It's a popular UTV route, so you don't know how many UTVs have been over it, but you know, when you start seeing it trench down, you can tell, you know, they're coming up here and spinning their tires as they come up.
Right on, Jewel. Let your spirit be free. With the wind at your back and the whole
I told you I knew where I was.
Jewel. Let your heart be your guide. In the depths of the thunder, it's your rant and your ride.
Well, I definitely haven't ridden the China bike for a minute. Yeah, for a minute. So probably we'll see about tomorrow, but depends. Might be able to commission Aaron to do the El Dorado loop. I'll ask him today. It's like we're kind of making it a weekly trip right now to go into Skunk Harbor. We went in there about a week ago and rode around, and then we went back with some family members and took a dip in the lake, and while it's, you know, summertime warm, we'll probably make that a weekly activity. One day a week we'll go to Skunk Harbor. And get a dip. You know, last time was pretty nice. Today's a little bit cooler. I don't think it's 90 yet. It could be 90, but it's low 90s. It was 97 last time we went. So, you know, when you first jump in the lake, you're like, oh, it's cold, but you know, you get acclimated to it pretty quick. But you just gotta take the plunge, you know, you gotta make yourself get in there, and then after 4 minutes or so, you're acclimated to the water, and then it feels good. But it's just that initial get in there and get dunked. But you know, definitely time to get back over to El Dorado. See, now the sand is really, really dry, right? No moisture in it, so it's really kind of sketch. Woohoo! Yeah, I think I have two-wheel drive, huh? Yep. So yeah, the sand's you know when the moisture's all gone out of the sand, because yeah, even with fat tires, it's I mean, fat tire bicycle, right? It's not any fatter than a motorcycle tire, but you know, it gets all loosey-goosey even on the bicycle. But anyway, I gotta get out, do another ride. El Dorado, El Dorado. Woohoo! You know, breaking my ankle and my wrist just really screwed up my summer riding plans, mainly on the motorcycle. I mean, it's put a damper on my mountain biking riding also, even though I've ridden every week since I broke it. You know, from the first week all the way to now, I've taken a mountain bike ride. Not very comfortable ones, but you know, injuries are really frustrating. You know, I'm like over 2 months out, right? So you should be like, hey man, it should be all good now, but no. You know, my wrist and my ankle still hurts, still tweaks. I notice, you know, every week that goes by it gets better, but the swelling is starting to go down pretty good on my ankles, so it's just not super swollen. Still swells up a little bit, but it has gone down, so that's an improvement to me. You know, my wrist doesn't really swell, but it's just, you know, hurts in the wrist area, and then I get some sharp pains up and down my arm. But I've been able to get back into exercising. You know, because my left arm over here, you know, if you're right-handed, your left arm is weaker than your right arm anyway, and then when you injure it and you can't exercise it, yeah, it dwindles pretty fast. So coming along. You know, it's mainly the pounding, you know, that makes it hurt and makes it sore. So on the dirt bike, you know, when you go over areas where it's pretty rocky, you know, and even though you have good suspension, you know, that pounding makes it hard after a while of the pounding. You know, it makes it hard to hold on to the handlebar or pull the clutch when you have to stop. I don't have to pull the clutch while I'm riding. Only when you stop, right? So, and take off. You gotta pull it in, but once you've taken the pounding, holding on, then it's pretty hard to pull the clutch, you know, because you've been using all your strength to hold on to the handlebar. Anyway, it's pretty nice out here. Beautiful day. There's no clouds, which is, you don't get many days with 0 clouds. There might be one behind me, but none in front of me. I don't think I've seen a 0 cloud day for a long time. And the wind is a little bit breezy, but the wind isn't really cooking. I'll probably eat my words here. Yeah, there you go. There's the wind. It blows and stops, I guess, but anyway, as clear as the day it is, there's hardly any wind. A lot of times when there's no clouds, you know, there's huge amounts of wind. So I think I mentioned in another video, you know, I do want to try to go to Beatty before the good weather in the summer time is over. It's probably going to be in September. But, you know, usually I make that trip in one day to Beatty, spend the night and come back, but the way I have to stop and rest my hand, I'm not sure if I could get to Beatty in one day. You know, because when I do that trip, I gotta book, I gotta ride. I usually ride pretty hard and then take a break, 20-30 minute break, and Tonopah, and then keep on trucking to Beatty. So you know, this is where the road gets pretty rough and rugged. And it even looks more rough and rugged since I was here last, you know. It's a popular UTV route, so you don't know how many UTVs have been over it, but you know, when you start seeing it trench down, you can tell, you know, they're coming up here and spinning their tires as they come up. You know, this road is getting very off camber, right? It's always been off camber, but you know, that part is getting more of a trench and the other part is getting more off camber. But anyway, you know, we're gonna take a ride to Skunk Harbor, so I don't know if I want to totally beat my wrist up coming up here. Don't know if I want to totally beat myself up before we go to Skunk Harbor. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. But I haven't ridden this road for probably 2.5 months, 3 months. It's been a minute for sure. Okay. But anyway, it's mid-afternoon, so you know, we're gonna go into Skunk Harbor a little bit later than even last time because we're waiting for another person to get off work. So I don't think we're gonna leave Carson till like 5:30. And then, you know, that'll get us down to Skunk Harbor probably about 6:30. Or 6:15, but that should mean that a lot of people that are swimming at Skunk Harbor will probably be packing up and leaving. Because nowadays, every beach around Lake Tahoe is usually busy. You know, the first time last week we rode in there were two. Yeah, I think there was two. There was a sailboat in the harbor, at least one. I thought there was two. But anyway, there was a sailboat in the harbor. So, you know, people were gonna be on the beach from the sailboat as soon as they got up and around. And we saw some other bikers in there, but I don't think they were going to the beach. I don't think they were beach bound. But it's kind of fun. I'm contemplating taking my mask and snorkel. You know, it's not like I'll spend a lot of time in the water, usually about 15-20 minutes, but you know, a mask and snorkel makes it that much more fun. Just makes it more fun. See, and when you got an injured wrist, everything that's rough seems 2 or 3 times rougher. You know, because even though you feel the bumps, normally you feel them twice as much or 3 times as much as hard. It feels 3 times harder. I watched a pretty cool single track video where this group of guys on their dirt bikes was doing a pretty tough single track route with a lot of exposure meaning cliffs. There was an older guy, I'm just gonna say my age, or he could have been older, but you know, I'm pretty old, but he was on a motocross bike, right? I mean, yeah, you could do single track on a motocross bike, but not very easily. You know, I think it was a Honda, I couldn't tell for sure, but it was probably a Honda 450. Well, I might be wrong about that. I didn't really see what it was, but it was a 2-stroke. So it's probably a Honda 250 2-stroke. An old school 2-stroke, I guess. But you know, people were commenting like, that old out of shape guy shouldn't be doing that ride. Dude, that guy killed it. That ride was brutal. I mean, crazy brutal. So if you're his age and still riding motorcycles, or my age and still riding motorcycles, and you can do that kind of ride, even if you're suffering the whole ride, if you can complete that kind of ride, you better hope you can do that when you're that age. You know, people were like commenting, he shouldn't be out there. I'm like, dude, he chose to be out there. Yeah, it was tough on him, but he did it, Jack. but besides that, the guy who was videotaping was on an e-motorcycle, well, an e-bike. So it wasn't like a KTM free ride or the Stark Varg, which are legit e-motorcycles, but they weigh almost the same as a motorcycle, right? So the KTM free ride and the Stark Varg, they weigh about as much as motorcycles do. So this guy was on a hey, you're not supposed to be jake braking on the highway, dude. It was a Arctic cat, and he was doing the single track ride, and you know, there's a couple spots where he had a little bit of trouble, but for the most part, you know, I mean, I think those are perfect for those kind of rides. For one, they're 150, 160 pounds, right? So at least 70 pounds than your lightest 2-stroke, I think. Maybe 60 pounds. But, you know, that's important, to be able to manipulate a bike around, pull it around. You know, there were several times he almost went off the trail and he had to, you know, pick his bike up on the rear end or whatever to move it back over front end. And the cool part of it, I didn't know those bikes had that feature, or that bike, but he had a reverse button. So there was a few tight switchbacks and he was, you know, using the reverse button to help him negotiate his turn, which I thought was epic. And I looked up that bike on, you know, Marketplace, and they say it has an 80-mile range, which would be perfect. You know, my Eldorado ride there and back, you know, that's about a 60-mile ride. My loop ride is a 30-mile ride. So, you know, I mean, something to consider. You know, it's half the price of a full-blown two-stroke. You know, as long as you can get some decent range out of it. I mean, I don't think that guy's battery depleted. And there was one other fella on a motorcycle who ran out of gas. So he didn't deplete his battery on his e-bike, but a guy with a motorcycle and a gas tank ran out of gas. And two others almost ran out of gas. So, you know, that says something right there. So, and I would probably venture to do a lot more single track adventures on a motorcycle type e-bike vehicle that weighed 150 pounds compared to 225 pounds. Yeah. So picking up 150 pounds all day is way easier than picking up 225 pounds all day. So, you know, I've always kind of been interested in those. I mean, quite a bit. My nephew had one back when they kind of first came out. You know, he had the Sur-Ron, and he sold it. He was thinking about buying a Talaria, but now there's the Arctic Leopard. There's a bunch of different ones, and some of them are fairly inexpensive, you know, under $4,000. And I'm not a person who, you know, would destroy those things like a lot of single track riders. You just watch these single track riders and their two-stroke bikes. It's like nearly every single ride they're breaking something, right? They're either breaking a lever or breaking, you know, brackets, or, you know, I'm talking the serious single track people. You know, I don't want to subject my gas to that kind of treatment, because I couldn't afford it to begin with, and then you know, tires and tubes and that kind of stuff is expensive enough, especially if you have to run down to the motorcycle shop, local shop, and buy something because you don't have enough time to get it off of Amazon. It's twice as much. You know, a heavy-duty tube goes from $25 to $50. And tires I can buy for $100 or less, you know, at the motorcycle shop goes up to 130, 150. So just a little scoot around the dirt. You know, I don't have my wrist brace on, and this felt okay, but like, I mean, it hurts right here. I didn't take it up those rocks and then come back down because I already knew it was going to pound it, and I've got a ride to do, you know, later on. Not a hard ride, but still a ride. So anyway, I may videotape that, but it's pretty much, we'll have some new people with us, but it's pretty much the same as my last videos, but I'll take the camera along anyway. Alrighty. Thanks for watching. Nova, did you kill anybody? Not yet. Huh? Not yet. You're just a puppy, but yeah. You're a protective puppy, huh? Okay.